Hello and welcome to the Garden Warrior podcast with the Garden Warrior himself, Paul Davis. I'll be joining Paul every week with a new guest from the horticultural world as we talk the science, the theory and the practical ways to approach a garden. Known for his fun and can-do manner, Paul is one of the UK's most fun celebrity gardeners, showing you behind the scenes of his day-to-day business, punctuated by his funny stories and anecdotes, often with an insight never before seen. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Alison.
Hello. You know what I think is quite funny that every week so far, like we're on episode 5 now, and we say we'll be joining every week with a new guest.
We
haven't had one because we had so much to talk about, and I know we've got a little list now of people waiting to come on the podcast with you, so we will start bringing on some guests. Mm-hmm. But I just feel we had actually had a plan.
We did.
We've got a bit of exciting news coming up.
Yes, I've got a new book coming out.
Okay.
What's happening tomorrow about it?
So I got a meeting tomorrow to have the cover designed and the final edit done, which is really exciting. But I also know, so we'd planned to go through a chapter of your book every week for the podcast to bring us some guests. But you've actually decided to change direction this week first as something that you feel is more pressing.
Yeah, I feel I need to speak about it because every time I turn the telly on, they're talking about mental health problems, different people and that. And it's all good news there's people talking about it because we do need to talk about it. But it seems to be a lot of people that are talking about it don't really know a lot about it. So that's a bit concerning in the sense that we need to get it out to everyone, you know, because it affects everyone, mental health.
Yep. So I know you have quite a lot to say about it. You've got your own personal experiences of this. So where are you coming from?
Well, I'm coming from a personal experience of mental illness, but I mean, it's very good that it's getting in the profile on the telly now with Prince William and Harry, and it's getting a much higher profile because we know for a fact that nearly 3 in every 4 people in the low wage structure have got mental health problems. So this is a major, major problem for the country, and it's not just the low wage people; it's like the whole country. You know?
I just want to ask you a little sort of a random question, really. It's often referred to as mental health problems or illness. Mm-hmm. And from your perspective, do you think that calling it problem or illness for someone that's suffering, does that give it like a negative connotation? Because I know it's all about owning it, and of course that's the right thing to do, but what's your thoughts on that?
Well, as someone has suffered really bad mental illness problems over the years, it's sort of like when you're in that zone of being really depressed, you don't want to speak to anyone, and everyone says on the telly and they say on radio, on everywhere that talking is good, and that is a fact, it's good, but you need to get to the people before they get to the place where they don't feel so good and they feel like taking their own lives, or they get into a very bad spiral and they can't get out of it. So yeah, talking about it is great. Yeah. But we need to get to the crux of the problem, you know, because you can't believe £105 billion a year in the economy is lost through mental health.
Yeah, okay, that's a lot. So do you feel, I always feel like there's a lot of people talking about it, and of course, who am I to judge anyone, and it's not a judgment, but there seems to be a lot of people talking about it. It's on television everywhere, there's huge advocacy, there's a lot of celebrities talking about this, and of course we don't know whether they've suffered or not with these issues, and I think on some level everybody does at some point and somehow. But are you feeling that, I mean, of course it's a good thing, but how do you feel? You said earlier that there's a lot of people talking about it, perhaps that haven't been through it. Perhaps there's a way for you as someone that has been through it. Do you have a different language? I know you've spoken before about writing a book about this, because you put it in a language of someone that's been through it that somehow, at least when you talk to me, feels different to how it's been spoken about by these well-known celebrity figures on television, as well-meaning as they are.
Yes, so that is quite true. So we don't know whether they have had mental health problems, but we know people like Stephen Fry who has it, and lots of other different celebrities, you know, and you know, we had the Meghan instance, and she said that she wanted to take her own life. We don't know whether that's true or not, but we have to take everyone serious when they say about it, because it's been. In the old days, it was like, keep a stiff upper lip, you know, man up, all that. That's not the way we want to go forward.
And that's tough on men, being told to man up, right? Immediately that puts a guy on the back foot, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when I was really bad and my friends were coming saying, let's take you down the pub, the last thing I wanted to do was go down the pub. It didn't make me feel any better. It made me worse going out. You know, you just want to curl up and go to bed.
So what would have made you feel better?
Well, because you've got to get through the problem, and the problem could be you could have lost a family member, you could take your job, and depression is an illness. It's not something that just happens, you know.
Right.
It's in your DNA. A lot of people are born with it, you know. And other tragedies that happen along the way that it makes you ill.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, my family, I've got a history of it. My grandmother, my mother, and me, we got the DNA gene that makes us suffer with depression, whereas my father and my brother, none of them ever did.
And I suppose the hardest thing, I know everybody says this, you know, if you've got a broken arm or you've got a physical pain, it's easy to see and people will corral around you and hug you and care for you. But when it's something that's in your head and it's a personal torment and people can't see it, I think naturally human nature, people tend to try for a little while to help and then they don't. And when you said your friends was coming to take you around the pub and take you out and that's the last thing you wanted, do you think like a constant, sustainable checking in with somebody? You know, is it about the constant and about the long haul rather than an instant fix? Is that where people?
So at the time when you're talking to all the psychiatrists, you don't think it's doing anything, but they're actually trying to get into your head. Yeah. And no one can see in your head. Like you said, if you've got a broken arm, you can see it in plaster. If you've got a cut eye, you can see it.
Yeah.
But if you've got a mental problem, no one can see it.
No.
You have to live with it, wake up every day with it.
And do you think there's a stigma in terms of not wanting to admit it? I know for me, when I've got things wrong, I'd much rather stay quiet and not actually share.
And that's what the depressing, that's what it does to you. So basically you go into yourself, you know. I never wanted to talk to anyone. You know, and I wanted to keep it quiet. I was working for another year before I had my mental breakdown. It's like every day I got up, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't tell anyone. I couldn't tell. I just smiled, pretend everything was all right.
And was you sort of hoping that if you just carried on, it might just kind of disintegrate and go away?
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't work like that. You tend to go downhill. There's very few people that, I mean, there's different types of depression. Let's get that straight. And this is what I think I was telling the telly. So there's depression. And that what that means is you can have a mild kind of depression where you've lost your job and you're sitting at home, you're feeling a bit down. That's sort of a kind of depression. Or you could have lost your partner in a car crash, and then that's obviously, and you go into a shock, and that's a different type of depression. Or you can have a complete mental breakdown, which is what I had, where you don't even want to be alive. So there's lots of different parameters and ups and downs with depression, and it can get better, but not everyone gets better.
No,
I mean, 3 of my friends took their own lives, so
horrendous.
you know, that's like that. You know, they say, oh, he was, you know, why did he do that? He left his family. He didn't do it because he wanted to. Because he did it because his brain made him do it.
Yeah, he actually thought that was the better thing to do.
Yeah, he thought him going would make his family better, but you're not thinking straight away.
And the thing with the depression is, I suppose, like you said, you carried on working for a year. It's quite easy to hide it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very easy to hide it because it's not nothing can see. You know, I can smile, pretend everything's like hi, how are you? And actually, I'm crying inside. You know what I mean?
So twisting it tiny little bit on a positive note, like you're very unique in the gardening world, in that you literally have a foot in both camps and you're very passionate at the heart of both of those things. Because you are the garden warrior and there was a very conscious choice of calling yourself that. And that is because you felt that by getting your hands in the soil, being in nature, having something to nurture, you felt that it helped you. You felt like a little bit of a warrior in terms of pushing through. So connecting these two things that are very passionate in your heart, gardening, which you've had like pretty much a lifelong history of, and depression, which has been in your family for a long time. What was the moment these two crystallised, and what hints and tips can you give now?
Well, the good thing about gardening is it makes your brain clear the fog, right? So when you're outside and you're doing something in the garden, you're not thinking about the depression, you're concentrating on something else. It breaks the cycle, it breaks the monotonism of thinking bad thoughts.
Okay.
So, you know, even having a plant on your desk in your office reduces your stress straight away because it fills your energy. You're looking at it, it feels good. Oh, I like that plant. It uplifts your mood. It might not uplift your mood enough to stop you being depressed, but, you know, people who suffer from anxiety and depression have found gardening is incredibly beneficial because it gets them out of that fog. I always call it a fog because your brain's a bit mixed up when you're depressed. And if you've never had it, you can't understand that. But if you have had it, you'll know what I mean.
Is there something in that as well about a routine? About setting a routine and having, like I've said over the last few weeks about the morning frost And, you know, I'm a low maintenance gardener. I just want to plant it and it grows, and I've had to go out and I've had to water them and I've had to bring them in every night. Is there something in the routine of that helps to start to clear?
So when you're in a mental hospital or a mental institution or a mental, whatever you want to call it, they make you have a routine every day. They make you get up, because no one wants to get up when they're depressed. They make you go in, get dressed. They make you have a bath. They make you get ready. They make you do something, because they know, even though you don't want to do it, it stimulates your brain. It gets your endorphins going. And that's good for your mental health, because to break the cycle, you need to get your brain working again, because basically your brain's just shut down. And that's why they keep talking to you. They're trying to get into your brain, and they try to make you do things and not just lay there, because laying there is good at first because it gives you a chance for your brain to rest, but long term you need to be doing things, you know. And talking does help if you're able to talk. But when you're in a spiral of deep depression, that's the last thing you want to do is go and talk to someone.
So there's part of that is scientific, and I know you've had a couple of conversations, and we're hoping to get him on the podcast with Alistair Griffiths, who's the Director of Science at the RHS.
Yes, we spoke with Alistair the other week, and he was telling us about that. You know, they've done studies that prove in deprived areas with maybe a couple of 100 houses, people that didn't even like gardening, getting out and making them garden lifted their mood straight away, and they became better. They became a little bit more active. They started speaking to their neighbours. All these things socially help your brain.
So there is a true science behind a very legitimate and valid link between gardening, helping, I don't mean it in any way to a pun, to start digging yourself out of those feelings of depression, and even whether they are severe or it's even a lighter anxiety. I know there's a lot of people right now that are starting to feel afraid about going out and socialising again now that we're allowed to. Some people that are fearful and anxious about returning to the office. So there's true science behind what you're saying. Yeah,
all over the world. I mean, every country in the world do these, experiments to see if what's good for mental health. I mean, it's the biggest number one problem we've got storing up now, mental health, coming long term, you know. And this is getting stored up from the last 20, 30 years, you know. So the youngsters don't go out so much now. They're always in their offices or their bedrooms playing on their thing. They're not getting the air. We was out running. We parents couldn't find us for like hours and hours because we was out. So that's not another thing that's going to jump on the bandwagon longer down the line. Getting outside and doing things has been proven, especially by the RHS, who's the number one source for their stuff like that. So gardening has transformed lives, you know.
Yeah. So as a little bit of kind of a parting comment or quote, I suppose, I don't want to keep it personal to you, because there is a lot of discussion on television and radio and everywhere in the media, and rightly so, 100%, about making it not, you're not embarrassed to talk about mental health, and it needs to be addressed, and we need to understand how to care for each other. But because you personally have been through this, and the last time you went through it, it was pretty severe, like, complete transparency, you was in a mental health unit for a few months of your life.
6 months, yeah.
Right. So you've literally been, and I think it's your own words to say, you was on the brink of wanting to take your own life. Like, that's a horrible thing to say, but that would be true, right?
That's correct.
And here you are today. You've been on the Jeremy Vine show. You've got some more TV appearances coming up. You've been signed up to a couple of speaker agencies. They're writing about you in newspapers. It feels like you're on a trajectory now, which is fantastic. If there's anything you can say to people, like genuinely, not a celebrity, but someone who's been through it at the absolute peak of nearly not being here, what would you say?
Talk to someone. Talk early in the early stages. So don't wait till you feel like you want to do something silly, like take your own life or something like that. You need to be talking to someone, and it doesn't have to be a family friend. It doesn't have to be anyone you know, but talking does definitely help. And
can I just ask you about that? I think sometimes it's difficult to know the language of how to say it, because when you're in that situation, what is that conversation? How do you talk to someone? Do you just come out with it straight away and say I feel depressed?
No, you're not going to do that.
But how?
But what there is now there wasn't so much when I was going through mine, is there's lots of mental health charities.
Right.
So you don't have to speak to anyone you know. Just pick up the phone, you ring Mind or any of those charities that are doing that, that you can get. We're doing an event with a little charity,
Sound Minds, yeah.
who are actually helping young people
yeah.
that have got sort of mental health problems
yeah.
play music and get into the arts, making things. And getting your hands in the soil, and you don't even think about this, is such a good thing to do. Because it gives off really good vibes into your brain, and it gets your body out in the open. Even walking down the beach, that's a great thing. Walk in the garden, that really lowers your stress levels just by watering in the garden. So, just sort of like, it's not an easy fix. So I don't want us to sound as if it's like, you'll feel better. It's not always easy as that.
No.
But try to speak to someone early and get to the doctors. The tablets do work. It's not the answer. You don't get cured just going to get a tablet. But what it does, it rests your brain. And the tablets they're getting, because it's the opposite to what you think. So depression means you feel shut up, sad, low. I want to shut up and put my blankets on my head. But really, your brain's racing. It's racing. It thinks all the time. Thinking. And basically what it's doing is trying to stop the thinking and let some other thoughts get into your head.
Okay.
So
medication.
Medication is one.
Slows down that speeding brain.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what you need to do. Go and speak to your doctor. I mean, doctors give out pills for everything now. So that's not. I'm not saying you should go to the doctors and just get some pills. That's one part of trying to break the cycle before you get down into a deep depression. And people have been depressed for thousands of years. Right? So it's not a new thing. It's just more aware now because people didn't used to talk about it.
No.
And it's good that it's on the telly and there's all these celebrities and all these people on the news, and it's on, because the reason they're talking about it, because it's a pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's going to come and hit us all at some stage.
Yeah.
So I don't want to sound really down about it, because the positive side is, like, I'm here and I've got lucky and I'm on the TV and I'm doing radio and all those sort of things that people don't really want to talk about mental health. Yeah. We should talk about.
So it's not one quick answer.
No.
Pick up the phone, speak to one of the charities, see your doctor, see if there's any medication that you can have just to stop your brain racing. At the same time, set yourself a routine, get yourself outside. If you don't have a garden, plant up some stuff on your balcony or in your kitchen. Just have something to nurture, have something to grow, get some outside oxygen into your lungs.
Yeah, open the windows, put some plants on your windowsill, or in your bedroom next to your bed. It's really good. It's it's cathartic. It gets you relaxing. And relaxing your brain is a way of getting out of depression, because your brain's racing when you're depressed. It's not the opposite way.
I think that's the key point. It's not one thing.
No.
You didn't probably get to that situation.
No, this was my fourth episode. I'd had like episodes 10, 20 years earlier, but this was like a major breakdown I had. Yeah. And that was for various reasons, but whatever reason it is, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You can get better with help.
So there's a series of steps that gets anybody into that situation, and equally there's a series of steps to get out of it. It's not one thing. There's
a lot of people that have depression are very creative people. Okay. So Stephen Fry, very clever people, because they're thinkers, Yeah. People that don't think tend not to get as depressed as people that do think. Right. Because I always think it's a thinking disease. Yeah. Because your brain's always working. Mine's hyper. I'm always hyper, and I'm hyper doing something. So, there's a downside to that. You can't do that forever. And I think depression is a way of slowing your body down, but it doesn't slow your mind down.
That's really, really interesting, Paul. Thank you so much, as always, for being so honest about your situation. I know you're very passionate about helping people. Of course, there's Samaritans, there's Mind, Combat Stress, Calm. We're doing some work now with Sound Minds as the charity. So I suppose pick up the phone.
That's what I would say to anyone that's feeling depressed and listen to this today, or if you know someone. And the biggest thing is, you usually know there's something wrong with your friend or your brother or your family. Yeah. Ask them, because not asking, they're suffering. If you just say, I think there's something not quite right with you, and they might look at you and say, actually, it's true, I don't feel very well. And then you can start the conversation. Yeah.
Or they might say no, but they'll go away and think about
Precisely.
it. Yeah, well done. Paul, thank you so much, as always. I know we're going to keep returning to the conversation on mental health, because it's not something that's going away quickly. We will pick up next week, and we'll have a little chat about chapter 1 of your upcoming book. Congratulations. And typical for you and everything you do is make it simple, is the title of chapter 1. So we'll dive into that next week. But for now, Paul, thank you so much. People can find you online. I know you're on Instagram.
Yeah, follow my YouTube channel. That's where you see all the videos. That's really good. You know.
Check out The Golden Warrior. Paul, thank you so much. Until next week.
Thank you, Alison.